a great scholarly personality born in the year 336 after Hijrah in the city of Isfahan in Iran. Some of you may have guessed who I am referring to. This great scholar of hadith was known as Hafiz Abu Nuaim Ahmed bin Abdullah Isfahani. He was one of the greatest scholars of hadith in his era. He was so famous that even when he was walking along the street, students would flock around him to seek some guidance in this field, or general guidance in terms of their studies of the religion. He was blessed with a long life. According to many traditions, he lived until the age of 94. And many other scholars have commented and have praised his ability in hadith and his expertise in hadith. The term hafiz in the terminology of hadith, or the principles of hadith, refers to someone who has memorized at least 100,000 hadith narrations. And it's not just the hadith narrations, it's the chains of transmission and other related information. Hafiz Abu Nuaim, for example, was famous for having short chains of transmission in terms of hadith, and the shorter the chain, the more stronger the probability being that it's more likely to be a stronger or more authentic hadith chain or chain of transmission. He was a well-traveled scholar. He traveled all the way to Baghdad, to Mecca, to Basra during his studies, and his teaching and study phase was a long one, as I mentioned previously. What I would also like to mention here is when a scholar is of such a high caliber, other scholarly figures acknowledge his scholarship. And I would like to share with you some comments of famous scholars who praised Hafiz Abu Nuaim Isfahani, one of them being the great Khatib Baghdadi, rahimahullah. He said about Hafiz Abu Nuaim that he was one of two great hadith scholars who he referred to as Hafizul Hadith, meaning he did not take this term lightly, and he only attributed this term to two people, and one of those being the great Imam Hafiz Abu Nuaim. In his book, meaning in Hafiz Abu Nuaim's work, Hilyatul Awliya wa Tabaqatul Asfiya, he mentions the biographies of different companions, short biographies, and the biographies of different scholars. And the purpose, he actually gives the reason for doing this. And he explains that there were people who were attributing false things and fabrications and criticisms and unjust criticisms, and even people who were offending, spreading offensive remarks about these pious predecessors. So he decided to write a book in which there was an emphasis on an aspect of the religion which later became prominent and more explained in his era and after his era, the concept of tasawwuf. But Hafiz Abu Nuaim, he compiled these biographies of the Sahaba and different scholars and pious predecessors to teach people and remind people of the greatness and the piety, the path of righteousness that these noble personalities walked upon. Imam Subki praises Hafiz Abu Nuaim by saying that he was a man of great excellence and great piety and asceticism. And Imam Zahabi, he singled out Hafiz Abu Nuaim in his praise, mentioning him that in his era, he was known to be the muhaddith or the hadith scholar of his era. And that's how much of an expert in this field he was. Imam Zahabi also mentions that he had a unique rank among the scholars of hadith.
We love Madani Channel.